I met Arnold. I met him only, what was it, about 2 weeks after he got to the United States. I met him at Vince's gym. And I remember one of the first things we talked about was his loss to Frank Zane. I asked him, I said, Arnold, wasn't there a contest you competed in recently? He said, yeah, the Miss Universe. That's the first American show. I said, what happened? He says, I'll show you what happened. So Arnold sits me down and he says, let me show you the medallion that all the competitors had to wear at this show in Miami Beach where Frank Zane beat me. And so he hands me this kind of big medallion, and I look at it, and it's clear as day, there's Frank Zane in the double arm. He didn't even try and disguise his face. It was Frank Zane on the medallion,
on the
right?
medallion, unbelievable.
There's also this, and he hands me a program from the show, and on the cover of the program is Frank Zane. Again, he says, what does it look like to you? He says, of course it was fixed, he goes. He said, I'm much bigger than Frank Zane, you know?
Right.
But what happened was that when the magazines came out about 2 months later, it took a little time back then. There was no internet. This is 1968 when the magazines did come out, and I saw the photos. I looked at Arnold. Arnold, sure enough, was much bigger than Zane, but he was very pasty, he had no tan,
right.
And he was very bulky. And Zane was tan and cut and, much smaller, but much more finished.
Yeah.
And I said to myself, well, Zane actually deserved to win, It's the same reason why Chet Yorton beat Arnold in the 66?
66, yeah, Nabby Universe.
Again, Arnold was much, you look at the photos, Arnold basically dwarfed Chet.
Yeah.
But Chet was far more finished. And Arnold's calves were very weak at that show, whereas Chet had, one of his features, he had good calves.
Yeah.
So, he beat Arnold.
Yeah.
That's one of the few guys. Who was it? I think it was Chet Yorton, Frank Zane. I think it was one of the persons who beat Arnold.
Sergio.
Yeah, that's it. Those are the only three people that Arnold ever lost to. I didn't like Sergio Oliva because I tried to talk to him on a number of occasions, and he was always very nasty to me. The time that I first met Sergio, I came up to him backstage at the Brooklyn Academy of Music, and I asked him for an autograph. I was a kid. I was, 16 years old, something like that. And I asked him for an autograph, and I remember he was wearing this bloody butcher's robe, had blood all over it.
Right.
He was pumping up, and I said, I called him Mr. Oliva. I said, Mr. Oliva, can I have an autograph? I had this little pad, the pen.
Yeah.
And he looked at me and he says, get the fuck out of my face. When Sergio won that second contest, I remember I just gotten, I had a subscription to Iron Man magazine, and I had just gotten the issue that had the report of that 68 Olympia in there. Mm-hmm. And if I remember correctly, in that Olympia, Sergio was unopposed.
Right.
Nobody even wanted to compete against him, right? So I remember, they had pictures of Sergio, and one picture was Sergio in a pose like this, with his arms out like that, And I showed it to Arnold. I remember Arnold was wearing that big tank top he used to wear. And I showed it to Arnold. I could still remember his words. He's looking at the pictures of Sergio. He says, he's incredible. He says, no one can ever beat him. That was his exact words.
Wow.
They talk about genetics in bodybuilding, John. You always hear this thing about you have to have good genetics to get to the elite level.
Right.
And, if you look at pure genetics, I think that Sergio was more genetically gifted than Arnold. Sergio basically was a kind of on-the-cuff guy. I mean, he didn't diet. He did everything wrong. I mean, he did all these short movements.
Yeah.
He overtrained, he did everything wrong. He built that physique, that tiny, tiny waist. I remember when I saw him in person the first time, I couldn't believe how his waist to shoulder taper.
Yeah.
You got to see him in person to believe it. Even in the photos, it doesn't really display what he showed. His waist looked tiny. And of course, in '72, that was the one show in Germany.
Yeah, that's in Germany.
Stay, which remains very controversial. I wasn't at that one either, but I remember I ran into a couple of the guys that competed about about a week after the show. I remember running into Frank Zane and asking him, and he said that he told me Sergio should have won. Sergio in better shape than Arnold. And I asked about three other guys who I can't even remember who were also in the show or who were there. They also repeated the same thing. Sergio should have won.
Wow.
There's only one bodybuilder. I didn't ask Arnold. But only one bodybuilder who I spoke to about it said that Arnold should have won. That was Franco Colombo.
Yeah, of course. His buddy.
He said, Arnold's the best. He goes. Sure enough, again, when the photos came out, honestly, to this day, it's not that Arnold looked bad, but Sergio was at his all-time
best, right?
Absolutely phenomenal that year. I still think that Sergio, I don't know if Arnold would admit that today. You know, he gave credit to Frank Zane, but I don't know if he'd, I don't think he'd give credit to Sergio for being better that year, but I believe he was.